when we celebrate an event in history, so it can't be that we're celebrating something that happened in the past and remained in the past, because that would be quite silly. What was, okay, it's very special, it's very meaningful, but we have a duty to what's happening now. We need to get that right. And so if there's no influence, if there's no consequences from the past, then what happened is irrelevant for now. We're not even allowed to be busy with it. It will be distracting us from the most important thing, from what's happening now, that we're responsible for. And so we're responsible for everything that's taking place, and to the extent that the past has an influence on that, then we must know. Then we must deeply understand. Because otherwise we won't be able to do what now requires. And so there's an event in our history, and it affected not only our history, it affected the world at large. And the effect that it had is in a very mysterious place. Because the thing that we are is a very mysterious thing. When we think of ourselves, we don't know how to think of ourselves in order to think of ourselves accurately. When we think of ourselves, you might think of the body, but obviously the body is many different parts. That's not what we are. There's something united that we are. We can think of the personality, but that's behavior that was learned. Learned behavior is not what we are, it's what we picked up from our surroundings. And so there's a place that we are that's beyond anything that we can think. That's why it's so mysterious. And this event that happened thousands of years ago, it hit us right there, in that place. In that place that we are, that's not the body, it's not the personality, it's not anything that we can think of. In that place, something changed. And this was done through the power of speech. There's the power of speech that we use, which is the little speech. And then there's the speech of the Creator, which creates. And that's the real speech. And so at this event in history, the real speech came out into the little speech. There was a meeting between the two. The one who speaks through creation also spoke within creation, within the creatures, so that each one saw, oh, that's how it is. Oops, too good to be true. Couldn't handle it. They weren't prepared. The prophets are prepared for the truth to be as good as it really is. But a simple person is not prepared. If the truth gets revealed, it's too good. The body cannot handle. So in this place where we are, to this place we have a responsibility. What's the responsibility? To be true to that bigger speech. That thing that was revealed 3,500 years ago, that thing is exactly the thing that we always want to be true to, because that thing is the place that we are. That's not the body. That's not the personality. That's not what we do. It's beyond all that. It's the place where we eat speech. Like right now, you're eating speech, that place that eats it. It's not the body and it's not the personality and it's not what you've done. It's something else, and it can understand things. It's a very powerful being. It's the most powerful of all beings. It sends angels to do their work. It also happens to have a body, and that's its weakness. That's why you can easily trap it. Imagine a bird that's supposed to be flying in the skies, and you clip its wings, and then, ooh, you're so easy to catch. I got you now. Nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. That's the body. That's the anchor. But the thing itself, the thing that's not the body, that's the powerful one. That one has no limits and has no bounds. That one is in charge of angels. That one, when it says or when it thinks, the stars change their positions. The rays that they send to earth, the song that they can sing. They like to sing. Angels love to sing, if only we allow them to. And so this revelation between the big speech that creates worlds and the little speech that we speak, this is described in metaphor as the interaction between a bride and a groom. The bride is within creation. The groom is before creation. And on that day they meet. And so every year we celebrate the meeting between the chosen and the kala, between HaKadosh Baruch Hu and the Shechina, between creator and creation. On this day they meet. On this day, we, the particles within the bride, want to make the bride look good in front of the groom. That's why we've been preparing ourselves for 49 days. So that when we see the groom, we find favor in his eyes. And the groom is the wisdom. If we were wise now, if we knew the truth now, how disgusted would we be by our own understandings and our own behaviors? Or how proud would we be? Not so likely nowadays. And so that meeting is a big meeting. That's why we prepare by learning, by adding to our wisdom so that we can find favor in the eyes of the wisdom when the meeting takes place between the bride and the groom. What has the bride been up to while the groom was away? The groom is the intelligence. The bride is the soul that needs the intelligence in order to be able to manifest, in order to create the right manifestation of the being that she is, this all-powerful being that has all this power to send angels. Where is it sending the angels? And so by Matan Torah it was revealed. Yeah, it is that way. Yes, everything counts. Yes, it's real. Every thought, every feeling, every word. Yes, yes, it's really, really that big. Yes. And they couldn't handle it. It was too much. What do you mean? We're running everything? What do you mean? We're not ready. We're not prepared. We don't know how to do it. We're doing it wrong. We know we're doing it wrong. Yes, and that's why it hurts. Until we're going to learn to do it right. At the end, the bride and the groom are going to be for each other because there's only one. There's nowhere else to look. There's one creator, and this is his creation. Creation will find favor in the eyes of the creator. It must. But where are we, each particle, in that favor? How much do we find favor? How much is what we contribute to reality helping the bride find favor in the eyes of the groom, or if it's causing something else? When the bride will find favor, then life will change, of course. Because then the Creator will be felt in creation. Nobody will wonder, nobody will ask. There will be no questions. The questions are, why were we forsaken? Why is Creator not in creation? Why does He allow us to suffer and He doesn't come and rescue us? Who doesn't come? The intelligence that understands what's taking place. Why aren't we connecting the dots? Because if we connect the dots, it will hurt too much because we're not ready to connect the dots. Because we don't behave according to how it's supposed to, so that when we connect the dots, we're going to feel okay with ourselves. And so therefore, we choose not to connect the dots. It's easier. That burden is easier for us to carry. But when we will live in accordance with the intelligence, there's plenty more of intelligence that comes after that to tell us even more perfectly how to do it. There's no limit to how much we can improve on this process and have better. In the place that matters, not in the body, in the place that makes the body will feel entirely different. Not something will be more, not going to the gym and you have bigger muscles. No. Everything will be upgraded because the life force will be more willing to live there. He will want to dwell in there. He will have a tremendous desire to do so, and he will do so passionately. That's his nature. He's not doing so because what have we presented to him? Where would the passion be? What would it be for? What have we explained to him that he is? We're not bringing out the best of him. And so on that day, there was an upgrade. Toyer kala, ma'oid nisalo. The form of the bride improved tremendously because suddenly there was an intelligence that was going to drive human beings to think about their condition, their situation, what is taking place. Don't just go through it. Something is wrong over here. Find it. Something is broken. Something is disconnected. Something is not the way that it was meant to be. What is it? That's our duty to the now. And so on that day, the bride started a process that is going to result in the bride awakening. And then when she awakens, she will find favor in the eyes of the groom. And then when the bride and the groom unite, then there will be Shabbos in the world. Everybody can rest. It's okay. The world can take care of itself. Not only can it take care of itself, it's taking care of us. Not the other way around. We're not taking care of the world. We are ruining the world. The world, even while we're ruining it, is taking care of us. And so the bride hasn't been loyal to the groom. The bride hasn't really understood what's in her best interest. The bride has thought that maybe she can make it better with a side hustle. She'll find an income on the side, and that will give her better income than her husband can give her. That will give her more satisfaction than being fed by her husband. Humanity has looked for an alternative truth, for some type of a distraction, in order to gain the sustenance that they're supposed to get from reality. Reality they didn't find exciting. They went for distractions in order to get their satisfaction. And so then reality is neglected. Then we don't understand reality. We don't see the effect of the relationships. We don't see the consequences of our actions. We're all getting our chemicals elsewhere. Reality is neglected. Reality has a design. We're supposed to get our chemicals a certain way. It is the way that it is, so that we interact at a certain level, so that we give each other what we need. Not that we get it from technology and then we can be rude to each other and there's no consequences. And so when the bride neglects the groom, the bride suffers. The groom is the infinite force that will give as much as the bride can take. The bride turns away, then she has less. If she turns back, she has more. The intelligence that designed us and is giving us life remains constantly feeding us according to our vessel, according to our ability to receive. Our ability to receive, this is what decides the condition of the bride, of the Shekhinah, of creation. And so the bride's distance from the groom is measured in 50 share bina, which means there's unification at the 50th gate of understanding, and to the other extreme, 50 share tuma, which in Mitzrayim there were in 49 of the 50 gates, which means being removed from reality, and the bride is completely unprepared to see the groom. And so this is the process of Sfira Soimer, this is the process of Sheva Shabbosos, cleansing the bride, her attributes, her ability to manifest her powers, cleansing everything back to its original condition, because Mitzrayim represents the opposite, represents that all the powers of the soul are being used for other purposes, are somehow turned against the interest of the soul. And so the 50 gates of understanding return the soul to its proper condition, to its proper understanding of self. And this is what heals the heart. The human heart can only heal when the soul that dwells within it understands itself, and therefore understands why whatever took place, and therefore feels safe and knows that it will no longer happen to her. As long as she hasn't understood why what happened, she doesn't fully feel safe, and therefore the heart can't fully heal. And so the 50 gates of understanding are 50 gates of returning the soul to full commitment to life. And that's leaving the service of all the other intentions we might have been serving that were not aligned with the needs of our soul, that we're serving some alternative purpose. The more we're doing things with our life force that are against the convictions of our soul, the more we're closing the heart as a result. Because the soul is resisting what's taking place within the organism. The soul is resisting how we are using and spending her own energy. And so that closes the heart. The soul wants to give less life. And the more we align the behaviors and the thoughts and the speech with the real intentions, the real will of the soul, the more the soul can reveal its heart and can reveal its desire and can give forth more life within that being. This is why it says, "V'atem adveikim b'Hashem Elokechem, Chaim kilchem hayom." So if you're completely attached to the force that's giving you life, then you're fully alive. The less you're attached to that force, the less you're really alive. There's a quality in how much life is being received from the soul within the body. And this relates to the relationship between the bride and the groom, between creator and creation. There's a big relationship between creator and creation that happens for the Shekhinah, that happens in the big unity of where everything is one. And then there's the small relationship between creator and creation, that in each world, in each small world that we are, there's that relationship, and there's the resulting consequences of what's going to take place between the soul and the body, between the soul and the awareness of itself. And so this relationship is a constant relationship. Yes, it's a collective relationship, but the collective relationship simply tells us that this is how we need to look at it in order to understand our own position, in order to understand our own situation. That as far as we're concerned, we're the only human being, and we are in charge of this relationship. That's the beginning, that's the middle, and that's the end of the story. Because to the extent that we get the relationship right, that we are going to be okay. Even if the rest of the collective is not okay, if we did it right, we're okay. And so as far as we're concerned, we're the whole world, and we have to get it right. The rest is other particles. And the more we get it right, we affect the other particles in a way that we assist them to get to their goal. The more we are directing ourselves in the right direction, the more we're having an impact around us that's directing us in the right direction. The more we're neglecting our own situation, the more we're broadcasting the wrong information, confusing everybody around us. Everything that we are, we're always broadcasting. We're always converting everyone. This is our nature. And so the more we're getting it right, we're converting everyone to the good. The more we're getting it wrong, we're converting everyone elsewhere. We're another distraction. So Shlomo HaMelech and Shir HaShirim, he describes this love story between this bride and groom that are trying to unite, that are trying to find each other. And there's all kinds of opportunities. But the right one hasn't come yet. The right one we're still waiting for. The opportunity that's going to be so decisive that the bride will never forget again after that. And the groom is always available. The groom is no problem to find. It's the bride always that we have to bring to finish the deed. But the groom is just waiting. The groom is always waiting. And so this day is the day. This day is the only time in history when a collective gained this level of access and they saw their own truth for one moment, even though they couldn't bear it. But they saw it, and therefore it transferred from the infinite unconscious with all these different possibilities into the conscious mind, where it received a biological print. It's part of everything that creates our DNA. It's part of everything that creates the future. It received the stamp from the king himself. The name of being, the one that gives being, he gave being to that event, and then it bees on forever. That's the nature of an event. That's the nature of the one who is not our bodies, is not our personality, is something else, something much bigger, something much more powerful. That's how he works. Never forgets anything, anything gets erased. That's how he still knows how to be. He's been through some crazy things over the last few thousand years, and somehow he's still being. He gets his confidence back after a little while. And so this place is meant to receive something very big. And this is what Shir HaShirim describes. In Shir HaShirim, this place is the bride. And the bride is always waiting for her groom. Oh, when will he come? When will he come? To rescue me from my own insanity. I've been telling myself stories for a few thousand years, and when will the truth come to liberate me? A truth that's so real, it doesn't require any stories. A story is a sequence of things that took place within the truth. The truth is not a story. The truth is a way of experiencing yourself where you have no questions. Because life and you have become the same thing, because they've always been the same thing, but suddenly you really noticed. And then you allow life to be you just like it is everything else. You don't sweat it. It just is. Never forgets. And so it can be you also like that, just like it is the tree. It does it for the tree for free. It can do it for you also. There are some bare minimums: sleep and food, breathing, moving around. But all the rest, it just does for you. No trouble. Doesn't charge. And it even works better. The equipment remains fresh. If you trust the world to hold your equipment, it will remain much more fresh than if you yourself are worrying about it and taking care. Because the energy that you're going to spend on doing it is just going to be wasted, so it's going to be a little less good. Anyway, the world will take care of it, but then some of the energy got wasted on worrying about it. This is the unification that we're trying to do with every mitzvah. Every mitzvah is meant to make the bride look more beautiful in the eyes of the groom, And so then there will be a unification. L'shem yichud kitchu b'richi shchintei. And that's the same thing when we say Yizgadal v'yiskada shmei rabba, that his name should become big. When we say his name should become big, whose name? The groom's. In whose eyes should they become big? In the bride's eyes, of course. The bride should fall in love with the groom. Yizgadal v'yiskada shmei rabba. Yeh shmei rabba muvarach l'olam milol me'omayo. Yizborach v'yishtabach v'yispar v'yisroimam v'yisnaseh v'yishadar v'yishale v'yishalo. Everything good should happen to the name of the groom in the eyes of the bride, so that they unite. And when this name represents the right intention, then it becomes blessed. When this name represents a different intention, then it becomes cursed. This is why when we're in exile, we don't say this name at all. We want the name to become very big, but we don't say it. We say a different name. We say a nickname. Because we're afraid, what intention will people give to this name if they say it? We don't trust them with this name. Don't do us any favors. Don't speak good about the groom. You're not qualified. That's exile. In exile, not only that, people are afraid of the groom. The particles within the bride, their biggest fear is, ooh, the groom. Uh-oh, he's coming? That's called a Chilul Hashem. That's a result of a desecration of the name. The name has been desecrated. The bride is afraid of the groom. Hmm? And this is why Chilul Hashem is the most difficult sin of all sins. Because the whole purpose of the whole story, of the whole thing, of everything together, is that at the end they should love each other and that they should unite. All the fears and all the threats and all the this and don't and yes and maybe is just so that at the end it works and they love each other and it works. And then if we desecrate the name, then what's the point of everything else? Then all that for nothing? Then you're just torturing people for no good reason? That's cruelty. And so the name is what it's all about. The name represents the wisdom that can liberate humanity when they will love it. Because only then will they love themselves. It's the wisdom of who they are so that they can know that they are very lovable. And they can understand also what went wrong, and they became so upset and frustrated. Humans are being mistreated. Most of it unconsciously. People don't realize that they're mistreating humans, but boy are they mistreating humans. Humans were not meant to be treated this way. Human is a specific type of creature. It doesn't matter if they say, I'm okay. They don't know if they're okay until many years later. The whole Torah is the name. The whole Torah is here to give glory to the name. The name of whom? The groom. Who's the groom? Your Creator that created you because He loves your form. He loves your shape. He loves every part of you. He designed every part of you perfectly. He consulted with all the angels. Angels are big beings. That's why everything is so flawless. The angels do it. And they do it 8 billion times every second. And they never miss. He did that because He loves it. He loves it so much that this whole universe is worth it for Him. Even if we don't see what's the big deal, He sees the big deal. To Him it's a big deal. Creation, a human being. He invested Himself in it. He made it happen. To Him it's a very big deal. And we, the bride, we have to wake up to Him. He is not our enemy. He is not our problem. Our problem is down here. He is our solution. He is the one that can liberate us. He has a truth. He has a way. And that's why Matan Torah represents this unification. It represents the day that the name was revealed, the name and all the different ramifications of that name, of what that name means to us. How did it dress up in order to become us? That name that dressed up as everything, what process did it use to dress up as us? And what's the relationship between the different parts within us? What are the functions of the parts? What's the capacity of the force that speaks? What are the deepest perceptions? What's the highest intelligence that this creature that we are, that it can attain? And not necessarily with such hard work, but more with the right wisdom, with knowing where to apply the pressure. Knowing where the doors are, where we can get more energy out of the soul, out of the heart, where we can get more desire from the soul to exist, to want to manifest, to want to grow in intelligence and to realize reality. There's a constant attempt by the intelligence that dwells within the body to make contact with the intelligence that's creating the body. This is within the nature, because naturally they would be attached. Here, because of external influence, they became detached. And so now there's a natural pull between these two forces that they want to meet again. They want to know each other. But the only way home, the only way to really reattach to who we were when we were born, is to understand the wisdom that manifests us from the seed into the full form. And that wisdom relates to the process of nature that involves the planets and the zodiac, the astrological signs. All the stars that surround us are involved in the process of creating the fetus that eventually will receive within it a force that's even bigger and more powerful than all of them combined. And that force in our world manifests as speech. Speech is the signature of that intelligence that we can't think of in our mind, because that intelligence has no description, he has no form. He can become everything. He can dress as any word, and he can also be beyond words. That intelligence is the one that's within our brain, and it can think. It's within our heart, and it can feel. And so all the stars and the planets together create something so complex that it can contain an intelligence that cannot be perceived, cannot be understood. There's no drawing, there's no capacity within our experience to experience this divine light. Because it's so high, that's why it's indescribable, that's why it has no form. We can only know it from the revelations that come forth from it. And so in that sense, it's closer to the Creator. Who is the Creator? The force that cannot be found in creation, not in thought, not in speech, not in action, but is beyond creation, and therefore it cannot be represented by anything within creation. And so in a similar way, speech is the force that's beyond creation, it's beyond any words, and therefore it cannot be described in words. And so the power of speech gives us the ability to adjust our own settings and to just adjust each other's settings. Because through speech, we're actually maneuvering within biology, we're changing the settings of the nervous system. And so by this power, by this intelligence, we have the capacity to hurt or to heal each other. We can heal each other by pointing out our truth, or we can hurt each other by pointing out where we are not true. And so the power of speech is the power that actually separated us from our original settings. It's through speech that the sanctity of our best interest was violated, and suddenly our forces were serving an alternative master. The way home is through speech, but speech that heals. Teres Hashem Tmima, Meshivas Nafesh. This heals the heart. Ilavav Yavin, Vishav Verafalai. He'll understand his heart, he'll return, and then he will heal. The Torah heals. L'chol b'sarei marpeh. It heals the entire body. How does it heal the entire body? Because it gives you more soul. More soul heals the entire body. The body is only sick because there's not enough soul. There's not enough will in that body to even carry that body. We should say thank you every night that it still did its work. So if there's enough soul, then there's enough life. If there's enough life, there's no disease. Disease is some lack of life, some type of a blockage. Life is not arriving on some level. And life is the original form. The form that's described by our bodies, but it's not our bodies. What we have is beyond body. Our body is just a description of what we have. For every piece of body, there's a piece of soul. That's the reason for that piece of body. If the body has an eye, it's because the soul has a function, and therefore the body has an eye. The soul can see, therefore the body has an eye. And so it is with every body part. The soul is the real part. The body is just the place where the soul is going to hold that part while it's embodied. And the function of that body part is going to become identical to the function of the soul while it's embodied. And so if I'm having trouble with some type of situation in my environment, I'm also going to feel in my body like a certain body part is not doing its function. Because the soul that's being affected by the environment, the will is not flowing. And so if the will is not flowing in that area in my life, the area of the body that's storing that part of the soul is also going to have consequences. And so this day is a day that changed the trajectory of humanity in a way that we can't even relate to. We're so asleep, we don't know what the life looks like, so we can't understand what type of a difference can be made on this being. But in those times, they were more alive. And even while they were much more alive, this event was something way, way, way out there. This event was beyond anything that we can imagine, even if we've had very extreme experiences. Because the truth of it all, the permanent nature of what was being revealed, the clarity, the togetherness between the collective, all these things are things that leave a very deep mark on the soul, not only the individual soul, even more so the collective soul. And so we all want to do our part in order to beautify the bride in the eyes of the groom. We all want to do our part in order to bring the unification closer, in order to allow intelligence to dwell within us and not to become offended by us. And this requires a certain humility, because the truth already is before we started thinking. And then we made some very strong opinions about it, and then we say, please, 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 can it be so? But no, it already was before you started. It's not being decided now. What we're going to have, where we're going to be, that we're deciding. But the truth, our nature, the way that we are, what pleases us and what displeases us, this is inherent in the way that we were designed. It's not up to us. It's not negotiable. And if we try to resist, then we cause problems. We cause a reduction of will in one of the organs. We're weakening the soul. Less soul, the bride is looking less attractive. The bride is limping. The bride has organs that stop functioning. That's not attractive for the groom. That's not a place where intelligence wants to come and find a home. So these are all spiritual organs, of course. We're talking about the functions of the soul. And so there have been many broken people physically who were very attractive spiritually. And the groom was very pleased with these broken people. But when someone is broken spiritually, it means that he is no longer looking out for what's best for the collective. He's no longer looking out for what's best for a human being. He no longer understands his purpose. And that is something that repels intelligence. It doesn't allow intelligence to feel comfortable in such an environment, because intelligence gets offended when we don't respect life. Intelligence knows the value of life. Intelligence knows what has been invested in order to create life. And when we don't value life appropriately, intelligence gets offended. And then there's less of it. And then whatever is feels more justified. The life can continue because there's no intelligence that knows that no, this is unacceptable. It cannot be this way. And this is what happens when there's no wisdom, when there's no Torah, when we don't follow the truth. We follow the other nations, we follow the distractions, we follow whatever type of entertainment they come up with in order to keep us dull and meaningless. And so then we lose access to our real fire. We lose access to the real meaning of our experience. We lose access to the groom. We become less attractive to intelligence. Intelligence doesn't feel comfortable in such people because it's disrespectful of life. Life is a gift. Every moment is a gift. Every moment is infinitely meaningful. And so we need a distraction. It means that our emotions are not properly wired. We're not reacting to life appropriately. And so let's deal with what's not functioning properly rather than keep on distracting ourselves, because that's more comfortable. Because eventually we're going to realize that this was our chance, this was our life, this was the time where we could do anything with the most powerful creature in the universe. We can do anything, we can think whatever we want. No one is stopping us. We can desire whatever we want. The Creator respects desire more than he respects action. The only reason action is so special is because it proves a deep desire. There's no limit to what we can do, and everything is infinitely meaningful. There's no limit to what we can say, and everything is infinitely meaningful. You say something to someone, that something is going to say something to someone for the rest of eternity. It's going to be involved in everything that they think and everything that they do. We have access to the most powerful creature. We're just so used to it that until we won't have it, we might feel like it's self-understood. Of course. What do you mean? Everybody can speak. Yeah, okay, and? What is speech? Everybody can speak, it's true. But what is it? What does it mean for you? It's so meaningful that dead people, you know what's their biggest desire? That someone should say their words, because then they can speak again. They can speak after they're dead. That's the biggest prize you can give to a dead person. That's the nature of a book. A book means someone who's not here is talking. It's not the same as talking, but it's a little bit like talking. It awakens certain combinations of angels. And those combinations of angels have a similar effect on the human organism as did the original. But of course, each organism to its own. What do the words mean? What does life mean? Who is the creator? What does he want? All words are created within context. All the meanings come with a context. And that context results in how we interpret. And so therefore, yes, they are talking, but how much of it is them talking and how much of it is us talking? That depends on the one who's reading the words. And so they want us to talk, of course, but it's not the same for them if anybody says those words. They want one who can say the words and actually mean what they meant, or as close to that as possible. Something that has that frequency, has that vibration, has that intention and desire for humanity. And that's the test. That's the test of the Torah. If someone comes to learn Torah, what's your intention for humanity? What do you think a human being is? What do you think he deserves? If that's not straight, the Torah gives you nothing. You're the enemy. Why should I tell you? So this is why it says, if someone learns Torah and he doesn't have Yiras Shamayim, he's not taking it seriously. And that it says, the pasuk says, why does the fool come and try to buy wisdom? Velev ayin, he has no heart. He has no heart. Don't come learning, you're going to understand all the wrong things. So the Torah has a protective mechanism on it. Are you sensitive enough to know who we are talking about and how important they are? If you do, then listen to what I have to say. There's a riddle here. Maybe you'll figure it out. If you think that, oh, I don't know, you tell me, then that's levain. You don't know the first thing about life. So, no wisdom for you, sir. That would be dangerous. So the ultimate attraction to intelligence is attributes, because attributes are what allow intelligence to reside. If someone doesn't have the right attributes, intelligence cannot reside. Intelligence gets offended. And so this is why Sfiras Omer is a time for cleansing the attributes of the bride, so she can meet the groom. Who's the groom? Intelligence. Intelligence will come after the attributes are accurate. And so the intelligence within us the intelligence within the bride represents the groom. It's his representative in us. It's his son. It's his potential that's trying to become within us, that's forming intelligence and trying to understand. The conversation we're having is between the representatives of the bride and the groom, between our emotions and our understandings and our intelligence. And then, when there's the right understanding, then intelligence increases. Then more of the groom comes in, representing the real will, representing the truth of what the bride needs to know in order to find favor in the eyes of the groom. And then the revelation of the groom is prophecy. It's when the real truth is revealed to the soul. For most people, that happens as they're leaving the body. That's when the truth gets revealed and they realize, oh, so different than I thought. So different. Not even possible to think. We don't have the right chemicals to be able to think that. We would need to be loved from the moment we're born to even come close. If we were ever in danger, then we've long forgotten what that feels like. So this is the revelation of Shavuot. So may we all have a day that reveals to us, reveals to our soul, the light that gives it comfort, the light that reminds it what it has long forgotten, the light that has been trying to reveal itself from within. May it finally succeed for us individually and for the world as a collective. And may it happen soon.